Captain Theo strolled into the Quantum Oasis, a high-end galactic bar buzzing with alien chatter and the hum of interstellar tunes. He scanned the room, his confident smirk widening as curious eyes turned his way. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and he enjoyed the attention. Sauntering up to the bar, he leaned against the counter. Behind it stood Zarna, the bartender whose beauty was as legendary as her sharp tongue. Her shimmering blue skin seemed to glow under the bar lights, her iridescent hair falling in waves that framed her amused expression. "Well, look who decided to join the big leagues," Zarna said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "What'll it be, Earthman? A nice, safe plasma punch?" Theo chuckled. "Surprise me. Something bold, something dangerous. I can handle it." Her eyes sparkled mischievously. "Oh, can you now?" She grabbed a sleek glass and began preparing a drink, her hands moving with practiced precision. "How about the neutron star martini? Not many survive it, but I'm sure a bold human like you can handle the pressure." Theo grinned. "Bring it on." As the drink was completed, a faint glow emanated from the glass, the liquid swirling with an intensity that seemed alive. The entire bar quieted, patrons turning to watch. The neutron star martini was infamous, a test of strength and stamina among the bravest across the galaxy. But instead of handing the drink to Theo, Zarna lifted the glass herself. Without breaking eye contact, she tipped it back, swallowing the potent brew in a single dramatic gulp. A stunned silence fell over the bar before erupting into gasps and murmurs. Theo blinked. Was that for me?" Zarna wiped her lips, setting the empty glass down with a smirk. "Tradition. Can't serve what you can't handle. Thought you'd like a demonstration." He folded his arms, feigning offense. "And here I was, thinking you'd let me show you what humans are made of." "Oh, I've heard enough stories," she teased, leaning forward. Her pheromones filled the air, making Theo's head swim slightly. "But seeing is believing, Captain. Care to impress me?" Theo raised an eyebrow, his grin returning. "You're on." The bar erupted in cheers as Zarna began mixing another round. Theo couldn't help but notice the way she moved, calculated, graceful, and completely in control. She slid the glass across the counter toward him. "Your turn," she said, watching him closely. Theo took the glass, lifting it to his lips. The moment the liquid hit his tongue, it felt like his mouth was on fire, the intense flavor nearly overwhelming him. But he wasn't about to let her see him falter. He swallowed, setting the empty glass down with a confident thud. Zarna's expression shifted from mockery to genuine surprise. "Not bad, Earthman. Most spit it out halfway. Maybe you've been underestimating us," Theo said, leaning in slightly. "Humans have a knack for handling the unexpected." Her smile turned sly. "Oh, I never underestimate. I prefer testing limits." The banter continued, drawing laughter and whistles from the gathered crowd. Theo couldn't help but enjoy the challenge, her sharp wit matching his own. For the first time in a while, he felt genuinely intrigued. As the night wore on, Zarna leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Careful, Captain. You might bite off more than you can chew." Theo smirked, his tone laced with confidence. "I've got a strong stomach. And I always finish what I start." Zarna's smirk deepened as she leaned on the bar, gesturing toward the bottles lined up behind her. "Since you're so eager to prove yourself, let's see how far that human endurance goes. A little friendly duel, Captain?" Theo tilted his head, feigning nonchalance. "What's the game?" "Drinking. No excuses, no breaks. Last one standing wins." Her tone was light, but the challenge was clear in her eyes. The bar erupted into cheers, and the alien patrons began placing bets. A large, amphibious creature croaked. "Humans? They'll pass out by round 3. Theo glanced around at the crowd, raising an eyebrow. "Guess I'll have to disappoint them." "Don't worry, I'm used to exceeding expectations." Zarna chuckled as she poured the first round, a neon green concoction she called Cosmic Inferno. "This one's got a little kick. Hope you're ready." Theo raised the glass and downed the drink in one smooth motion, the fiery liquid burning its way down his throat. He barely blinked, setting the empty glass down with a confident grin. Zarna matched his pace, tossing back her own drink without hesitation. She placed her glass beside his, locking eyes with him. Not bad. But it gets harder from here. Round 2 brought a shimmering blue drink she called Quasar Shot. The liquid seemed to shift and ripple, as if it were alive. Zarna slid the glass to Theo, her lips curling into a mischievous smile. Careful with this one. It's not just strong, it's smart. You might feel it fighting back. Theo lifted the glass, examining the swirling liquid. Fighting back, huh? Sounds like my kind of challenge. He took a sip, the drink fizzling and crackling as it hit his tongue. A strange, electric sensation spread through his body, but he kept his composure, finishing the glass in one go. Zarna followed suit, though her expression flickered for a brief moment as the drink took effect. She exhaled slowly, setting her glass down with a satisfied sigh. Still with me, Captain? Barely felt it. Theo shot back, though he could feel the heat rising in his face. Got anything stronger, or is this the best you've got? The crowd roared with laughter, and even Zarna couldn't hide her amusement. Oh, you'll regret that, she said, reaching for a bottle with glowing red liquid. This, she announced, holding up the bottle, is solar flare. Most people can't get through half a glass without begging for mercy. Theo leaned forward, his grin unwavering. Then I'll take the full glass. Zarna poured the drink, the fiery liquid almost too bright to look at. She slid it across the bar to Theo, who picked it up without hesitation. Cheers, he said, raising the glass. Good luck, she replied, raising her own. Theo took a cautious sip, and the intensity of the drink hit him immediately. It was like swallowing pure fire, the heat spreading through his entire body. But he didn't stop, forcing himself to finish the glass. When he set it down, his vision swam slightly, but he refused to show any weakness. Told you I could handle it. Zarna's expression was unreadable as she took her turn, downing the drink in a single motion. She set her glass down, exhaling slowly. Impressive. You're tougher than you look. Compliments already? I must be winning, Theo teased, leaning on the bar. Winning? Oh, we're just getting started, Zarna said, a dangerous gleam in her eye. The bar patrons erupted in cheers again, the stakes higher than ever as the duel continued. Theo could feel the tension building, but he wasn't about to back down. Whatever Zarna had planned, he was ready for it. Zarna leaned closer, her voice dripping with playful menace. You've made it this far, Captain, but let's see how you handle the black hole brew. A collective gasp rippled through the bar. Patrons whispered among themselves, their voices a mix of awe and apprehension. The black hole brew was infamous, its ingredients rumored to challenge even the most ironclad constitutions. Theo raised an eyebrow, keeping his cool. Black hole brew? Sounds like my kind of drink. What's the catch? Zarna's smile widened as she retrieved a matte black bottle that seemed to absorb light. The catch is simple, you survive, or you don't. It's dense enough to knock out a Kragner beast, and its effects linger. But since you've got such a strong stomach... Theo chuckled, leaning casually against the bar. I've never walked away from a challenge, and I'm not about to start now. Pour it. The crowd roared with excitement as Zarna prepared the brew. The liquid oozed out of the bottle like molten metal, thick and shimmering with a gravity-defying glow. She poured it into 2 glasses, the substance swirling as if alive. Zarna slid one of the glasses toward Theo, her fingers brushing his as she did. 1 sip is enough for most. But I expect nothing less than the whole thing from you. Theo smirked, lifting the glass. Hope you're ready to lose, Zarna. Humans are full of surprises. The crowd leaned in as Theo brought the glass to his lips. The first sip hit him like a freight train, a wave of heat and pressure surging through his entire body. It was as if the drink were trying to pull him into another dimension. But he didn't falter, swallowing it all in one determined gulp. The bar erupted into cheers, the sound echoing around him like a distant roar. Theo set the glass down with a flourish, forcing a grin despite the fire coursing through his veins. "Not bad," he said, his voice steady despite the growing dizziness. "Tastes like victory." Zarna watched him with an amused expression before lifting her own glass. "You're a stubborn one, I'll give you that. Let's see if I can match your bravado." She drank the brew just as smoothly, though her expression tightened for a brief second as the intensity of the drink hit her. When she set the glass down, her smirk returned, though a faint glow in her cheeks hinted at the challenge she was feeling. "Still standing," she said, leaning forward. "Impressed yet?" Theo chuckled, though his vision blurred slightly at the edges. "I might be, but I'm still winning." Before either could declare victory, a sudden shift in the air drew their attention. The intensity of the black hole brew had caused a strange reaction, the air around the bar shimmering with unsteady energy. The patrons murmured nervously as small objects began floating off the tables. Zarna's eyes widened. "Looks like the brew's destabilizing the gravity field. I might have added too much dark matter to the mix." Theo glanced around, unfazed by the chaos. "You call this a problem? I call it added entertainment." The floating objects grew more erratic, and the crowd began scrambling for cover. Zarna reached for a control panel behind the bar, her usual confidence replaced with urgency. "I can stabilize it, but I'll need a distraction. Think you can keep them from panicking?" Theo grinned, turning to face the crowd. "You're asking the guy who just drank a black hole to keep the peace? Watch and learn." He climbed onto the bar, waving his arms dramatically. "All right, everyone, calm down. The gravity's just a little tipsy, like the rest of you. Stay seated, preferably not on the ceiling, and let the professionals handle this." The crowd laughed nervously, their panic subsiding as Theo continued his antics. Zarna worked quickly, her fingers flying across the control panel. Finally, the shimmering energy began to fade, and the bar settled back into normalcy. Zarna leaned against the counter, visibly relieved. "Well, that's one way to test the limits of a drink." Theo hopped down from the bar, brushing himself off. "And here I thought this place was supposed to be quiet. Guess you just needed a human to spice things up." Zarna laughed, shaking her head. "You're impossible. And you love it," Theo replied, his grin widening. Zarna crossed her arms, her smirk returning as the bar patrons cheered for Theo's improvised performance. "You've got flair, Captain, but we're not done yet. One final test. And this time you're in charge." Theo raised an eyebrow. "My turn to call the shots?" "Finally. What's the challenge?" Zarna reached beneath the bar, pulling out a tray of exotic ingredients. The array was a chaotic mix of glowing liquids, floating crystals, and writhing vines. "You make the drink. Show me what humans are really made of. And don't hold back." Theo surveyed the tray, rolling up his sleeves. "You want a masterpiece? You're getting one. But don't say I didn't warn you." The crowd leaned forward in anticipation as Theo began selecting ingredients. He grabbed a vial of shimmering gold liquid, pouring it into a glass with a dramatic flourish. "Let's start with a little human ingenuity," he said, his tone dripping with showmanship. Next, he added a splash of crimson syrup that sizzled on contact. "A touch of danger," he announced, the crowd murmuring in awe as the liquid sparked. He reached for a cluster of the writhing vines, pulling off a piece and dropping it into the glass. The mixture hissed and bubbled, the vines dissolving in a swirl of colors. "And a dash of unpredictability. You know, the thing we humans are famous for." Zarna leaned on the counter, watching him with amusement. "You're certainly putting on a show. But can you deliver on the taste?" Theo grinned, grabbing a tiny silver bottle from the tray. "Oh, you'll love this part. It's called Stellar Essence, said to make anything taste unforgettable." He uncorked the bottle with a pop, pouring a single drop into the glass. The drink shimmered, glowing with an otherworldly light. Theo gave it one last stir, then slid it across the bar to Zarna. "I call it human spirit. Drink up." The bar fell silent as Zarna picked up the glass. She held it up to the light, examining the swirling colors before taking a cautious sip. Her expression shifted immediately, surprise flickering across her face before she composed herself. She took another sip, then another, each one slower than the last. When she set the glass down, her gaze met Theo's, and for the first time that night, she looked genuinely impressed. I hate to admit it, but this is incredible. How did you pull that off? Theo leaned on the bar, his grin widening. Like I said, humans are full of surprises. We don't just adapt, we innovate. The crowd erupted into applause, the aliens cheering Theo's unexpected triumph. Even the most skeptical patrons nodded in approval, their bets long forgotten in the excitement. Zarna shook her head, laughing softly. You've outdone yourself, Captain. I didn't think I'd say this, but you might just be my favorite customer. Theo raised an eyebrow. Might? After all that? I thought I earned top spot. Zarna leaned closer, her voice dropping to a sultry whisper. You're close. But if you really want the top spot, there's one last round we'll have to settle, privately. Theo smirked, matching her tone. Careful, Zarna. I might take you up on that. She slid the empty glass back toward him, her eyes gleaming with mischief. I'm counting on it, Captain. The crowd began to disperse, the excitement of the evening fading into a lively buzz of conversation. Theo stayed at the bar, exchanging playful banter with Zarna as the night wore on. As the lights dimmed and the patrons thinned out, Zarna leaned on the counter, her gaze lingering on Theo. You know, I've met plenty of aliens in my time, but humans, you really are something else. Theo grinned, lifting his own glass in a toast. And here I thought you'd figured that out hours ago. Zarna chuckled, clinking her glass against his. Let's just say I like to be thorough. The two shared a quiet laugh as the bar settled into calm, the lingering energy of the night promising that this was only the beginning of their story.